So for the second straight year, we get Bengals and Chiefs in the AFC title game. Now, this is some line movement that we've seen start on Sunday. Once Bengals beat the Bills, they were getting a point, but then the questions about Patrick Mahomes and that high ankle sprain had Cincy all the way laying 2.5 earlier in the week, down to 1.5 as of this morning, and now it is sitting at 1. And we're also getting news that Patrick Mahomes will practice here on Wednesday. All right, to break down this game in Championship Sunday, we got Brady, Quinn, and Pete Prisco. You know, it's apropos, though, that we have that line graphic movement because it kind of mirrors your guys' records through the season, right? Up and down. Yeah. Somebody was leading, somebody wasn't. But at the end of the day, there was only one champion, and I'm told it was Brady Quinn.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we're dormy going into conference championship.
We are dormy.
And he's got a gift for you, Pete Prisco.
Well, and it's here's the thing is usually the winner gets the trophy. But in this case, I got you a gift. You got to open this.
If that's a participation trophy, I'm throwing it out the window.
Trophy. You need to open it up, though, while we're still live on air.
Okay, let me see what this is. Okay. I mean, who did the rap job on here? You're a pro.
I
wish. Been producer Jack.
I wish. I think it was.
Yeah, lift the lid. Lift the lid. It's a box. Just.
Loser! I've earned this. I've earned it. There you go. I'm an L. I'm a loser.
Big fat L.
And by the way,
can
I say this right now? Cowboys, right?
Straight up, you said don't need the points.
Well, if Dak Prescott shows up, I don't need the points, and I win, and I'm tied with you.
You wouldn't be tied.
One down, maybe?
Been, I think.
No, because that was a best bet.
We actually have the numbers here. Like I mentioned, it was close, up and down, kind of like the Bengals and Chiefs line movement there.
Okay, so that would have been a 2-point differential, so I would have had 151, and you would have had 153. So it would have been here. This is for the best bets.
Well, first off, that's not done yet.
What are you talking about?
I mean, you've won, but if you want to keep going
if I'm going to hold this up because I'm a loser overall,
that's
you
what
gotta,
the bet's about.
You got to hold it up.
The best bet.
You got to hold it up for the best bets.
Your best bet didn't even win last week.
I know, but did I win the best bets?
No, that's not a thing we do, Pete.
Why do we do them then?
I asked Jack. He started doing them this year. We didn't do that last year.
Okay.
Probably if you guys were tied, best bets could be a tiebreaker.
How many are you ahead now? How many are you ahead now, by the way?
Too many for you.
If I add over-unders like you do, maybe I can get a couple wins in here.
You actually should go back and look this up. Maybe I did better than you think. But you're dormy going into it. So it was a great season. It's been a lot of fun. We can now.
Do we have the same picks this week too?
I haven't looked at it. We actually don't. We actually differ on one. On one.
Okay. So.
Before we get to your guys' picks on this game, and again, the line is fluctuating. Patrick Mahomes expected to practice. Andy Reid saying today, quote,
by the way, I'm going to make this a pendant and walk around with it.
You know what? Put a chain on it?
Yeah, the loser. Yeah, I will.
But the loser.
The loser chain.
Andy Reid, quote, he did the walkthrough this morning. He'll practice this afternoon. We do have it here. Let's listen in.
Is there one or maybe two things you want to see from him today in practice just to ensure that you guys are headed in the right direction?
Well, just how he functions. He did well in the walkthrough, and we'll just take the next step, Nate. I mean, just see where he's at with it and go with it. Yeah.
Brady, I'll start with you. Your reaction to the news.
I mean, Pete's reaction is always priceless. So I'm dying laughing. I mean, look, it's a walkthrough. Like, what do you expect? Okay? I mean, at this point in time in the season, there's not much practicing you're doing anyway, Pete. I mean, for all of the guys. You're playing 17 regular season games, and even though obviously they're the number one seed, so they had to bye in the first round, you're still trying to get everyone's bodies back and ready to go for this game. So practice is even light. I mean, even if he was to miss practice, to me, there's no concern about whether or not he's playing in this game. It's about what percentage he'll be or how close he'll be to 100% and how mobile he'll be. So, look, I'm not one who's paid attention to what's happening this week with practice. I know he's never played a game without practicing all that before in the NFL. Look, he'll be playing in this game. We know that. How effective he'll be, that's what we have to wait and see in the game.
Can I get one prediction to get even? He's playing. Will you give me that? If he plays, will I give you?
I just said it.
Please, I need help here. Look, he's playing. There's no way Patrick Mahomes isn't playing. And like you said, though, the question becomes mobility because it's such a big part of who he is as a quarterback. Off schedule, getting outside the pocket, making plays when he does get away from pressure. If he can't do that, that changes the whole dynamic of who he is as a quarterback. Because he's not one of those guys that stands back there and goes through all the progressions. Not that he can't, it's just not who he is. it'll be challenged if that's the case.
And I think if you comb through this entire year, I think you saw less of that as far as the big plays, the splash plays where Tyreek Hill would uncover at the end and Patrick Mahomes would find him. I don't know that you could consistently say they had that this year within their offense. They had guys at times step up. You know, Marquez Valdes-Scantling and Juju Smith-Schuster would find a way of getting open, and obviously Travis Kelce. But again, it just had a different feel for the offense this year. So I think the two biggest keys are, what does that mobility look like? How well can the offensive line protect him? Like last week, I thought they did a great job once he did come back in the game after being banged up. And can anyone stop Travis Kelce? I mean, newsflash, my goodness.
No.
How is Jacksonville?
Actually, Cincinnati's done a decent job on him in their game.
They have. I mean, they've limited him to some degree, but that's one where I just kept looking back last week going, how do you let that happen?
By the way, last week, Jacksonville blitzed Mahomes, pressured him more before he got hurt than after he got hurt, which is incredible. The Bengals won't do that. They're going to come after him. Yeah. They're going to get after him, and they should.
So we think Mahomes is going to play, but he might be compromised on Sunday. And let me ask you this then, because we saw Cincinnati find a run game against Buffalo, which many people thought perhaps they would not be able to do. Pacheco, McKinnon, can we find a more of a running game for Kansas City if Mahomes is compromised here?
I mean, they're going to have to, I think, to have some balance and to take some pressure off of, Mahomes. He's not going to be able to move around and get outside the pocket like they'd like to do. I mean, it's hard to predict that, though. Andy Reid's the type of guy where just when you think you know what he's going to do, he does something else and he throws a curveball in there. So maybe they come out and they get the ball out of his hand quick. They kind of spread things out, more empty formations. It's more screens. It's more quick throws to the perimeter, and that's how they work it in, and they mix in the run to help out. But either way, they can't change their identity at this point in time in the season. Patrick Mahomes throwing the football is still your best chance of beating the Cincinnati Bengals because this game could be a shootout, and if it is, again, it still comes back to Mahomes throwing the football.
And again, last week when you looked at Buffalo, they basically dared Buffalo to run the ball, and they didn't. And I think you're going to see them probably dare the Chiefs to run the football, and that's been an issue. And in normal games, when Patrick Mahomes can be 100%, if the Chiefs are running the football, I think you've won that matchup because that's an advantage for your defense. But in this game, it might not be. We'll see how he is.
To your point, when Cincinnati gets the ball, they drive right down the field and score a touchdown. You sit there and say, all right, how's Buffalo going to respond to this? They didn't. They punted. And that's the sort of game that I don't think Kansas City can get into with Cincinnati because Cincinnati's going to be able to, they're going to come after them at times, but they're also going to drop 8 and only rush 3. And they're going to try to play some coverage and make Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs earn it the long, hard way. We've seen that be effective and slow down the Chiefs' offense. And so if they get in a shootout with Cincinnati, look out, because Cincinnati can go blow for blow with you, and we saw that played out versus the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, I think you got to be true to who you are, though. And like you said, they're not a running team, so don't just try to become a run team because your quarterback is immobile. Do things like get the ball to the perimeter, quick throws.
The interesting thing about that, though, is you wouldn't have said that about Cincinnati either, and they opened up the game, and that offensive line we had concerns about, they just said, no, we're just going to play smash mouth. We're going to be the more physical team at the line of scrimmage. When I'm sitting here saying it, everyone else was talking about it. That was going to be their weakness, and they didn't allow that to be the case. They were offensive in nature. They took the fight to that Buffalo Bills defensive front, and Joe Mixon was phenomenal to start that game, really setting the tone. I do wonder if that's going to be how the Bengals want to handle this going up against Chris Jones and Frank Clark, guys who I think personnel-wise, Chris Jones is the best interior defensive tackle next to Aaron Donald or after Aaron Donald. And that mismatch is going to be there. You can't get behind the sticks. I think you got to take the fight to him and run the football, too, a little bit for Cincinnati.
One quick thing about the Bengals run game last week, they changed the way they ran the ball, which was different. They used their tackle and moved their tackle. They got Adeniji out in space and pulled him a bunch.
Pin and pull, yeah.
Yeah, so I think they changed a little bit what they do, and I think it's surprised. And plus, the Bills aren't great against the run anyway. They never are.
You guys both like the Bengals. You liked it at 2. You probably like it even better at 1. You guys both also like the over. Pete, I'll start with you, backing Cincinnati here in the championship game.
Yeah, I just think when you look at the way Burrow is playing, I think he's playing at such a high level. And we talk about the offensive line, but they were outstanding last week. And I don't think the Chiefs are great on the defensive line. I think Chris Jones is fantastic, but if you block him, you beat him. I think there's opportunities down the field. They have a lot of young kids playing in the secondary. I think there's opportunities to hit some shots down the field. And defensively, remember, they've done a great job, not a great job, but a really good job on Kelce. And if you take away Kelce, where's he going? Because he leans on him so much. And so I think that for that reason, I think the Bengals will find a way to win this game and get to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, you look at defensive coordinator Lou Anarumo for Cincinnati and the way he brought pressure, especially once Cincinnati got up by a couple scores. And then it was like Josh Allen and the Bills had no idea where it was coming from. They were getting free shots, and it was Mike Hilton off the edge and slipping in different safeties and their players off of the edge to find ways of getting some hits on them. And Patrick Mahomes could be a sitting duck back there not knowing his health. So I'm with you. I'm laying the point here. I think, history says one thing. Eventually, this will even itself out. Kansas City will get some wins in this series. I just think it's a big concern with Patrick Mahomes' immobility back there in the pocket. And to your point, they're taking care of Kelsey. I just think it comes down to if the Bengals can take care of Chris Jones up front, if the Bengals stay in that 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5, range on 3rd downs where they've got everything in there, that's where they're most dangerous, and I think they end up taking care of this.
One quick thing, Trey Flowers has been on Kelsey at times in man coverage in some of those games, and he's got a hamstring injury. He's questionable for this week, so we'll see if he can go. If he can go, I imagine he's going to spend some time on him. They've done a good job on him.
Well, and look, if you look at their linebackers too, they have safety backgrounds for Cincinnati. So those guys are kind of capable at times mixing up or matching up in some of those.
If I'm Anaromo, I'm going after him and after him and after him. And they did a great job of delayed blitzing and waiting and coming late and freeing up the guys that way.
One of the things you talked about last week was DJ Reader and the impact that he would have versus Buffalo. I thought he played phenomenal.
Yep.
I know he doesn't always get credit for pushing the pocket and helping to create stuff for the edge pressure, but he had a big game. He's going to have another big game here. But I'm just glad you're picking the Bengals because at some point you kept talking about Joe Burrow winning these Super Bowls. And you're
Here we go.
Now you're picking him to win this game.
Here we go.
Pick him to win last
Here we
week.
go.
I'm
Here
just
we
saying.
go.
I mean,
Here we go.
Some of us
gotta
have
wrap.
been riding with Joe Burrow the whole time.
Doing a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game, the highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.